So by now, unless you've been living under a rock or maybe in Iraq, you know all about Donald J. Trump's latest big screw up. He said some really disgusting, inappropriate things 11 years ago, and the political news cycle and, of course, social media have blown up and been inundated with comments criticizing Trump for saying these things. Specifically, these remarks were of a sexually aggressive nature. They were crude, gross, crass, off-putting, and just plain wrong. Clearly, his remarks were not in keeping with what we would expect of a presidential candidate or a potential commander-in-chief. I know that everyone has already weighed in on this issue, but I wanted to take just a quick minute to share my thoughts on this matter. First, to make derogatory comments about women is not acceptable. Women are not sex objects or things to be grabbed between the legs. They are to be respected, not objectified and demeaned. Again, this is not something we should tolerate in our leadership. Second, I want to say that making broad brush insulting comments about any class of people, above and beyond just women, is obviously wrong and not something we should accept, again, from a presidential candidate. Whether it's about economic status or political affiliation or whatever, negative generalizations are not to be tolerated. Third, a presidential candidate should never make any racially tinged comments in today's day and age that is so obviously out of bounds. Fourth, foul, inappropriate language is so inappropriate. It's my belief that any presidential candidate should possess a high level of decorum and class and self-restraint and self-control, and they should never behave in a fashion that includes that type of language. Within that context, there is simply no room for profanity or coarse language of any kind. And it goes without saying that a presidential candidate should never say anything that even comes close to being slanderous. Fifth, when people screw up, they should accept responsibility for their actions. Now, some small good news for Trump supporters is that he did own up to his mistake, and he did make what felt like to me a sincere apology. We should probably give him some credit and cut him some slack for that, but that does not excuse his original bad behavior. Sixth, and above and beyond all those things, we have to expect integrity, candor, and honesty from our leadership. What we simply cannot and will not accept in our next leader is an inability to simply tell the truth. In the past, I think we as a country have been maybe too lax, too accepting, and too forgiving of leadership without a moral compass, and we simply must stop being so tolerant of that kind of thing. Tolerance is inherently a good thing, of course, but not when it comes to accepting dishonesty and a lack of integrity in our leadership, especially at the presidential level. We need to expect and demand more. Before I wrap up, let me add a few comments about his views of women as sex objects and why we simply cannot allow another sex addict into the Oval Office. First, we've seen this movie before and it does not end well. There have been a number of famous philanderers in the office before, and the last time it was a disaster, ending in the nation's second ever impeachment. I remember it like it was yesterday, and oh my God, was it a train wreck. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google "pleasured her with cigar," and depending on how you react to the information you find there, allow me to say in advance either "I'm sorry" or "you're welcome," depending upon how you feel about that. The then Commander-in-Chief went on live national TV, looked every American in the eye, and claimed he did not have sex with that woman. Of course, it was later proven that he in fact did have sex with that woman, and his lying about that and his obstructing of justice surrounding that investigation is what led to his impeachment. But beyond that scandal, there were so many others involving that president and a number of other women. One, Paula Jones, was paid $850,000 by the president to make the case go away. Another still fears for her safety today and says she was threatened. The bottom line is that the office was sullied, respect for the office plummeted as never before, and having a sexual predator in office was truly a nightmare for every American old enough to understand what was going on. To get to my final point, we simply cannot let another sexual loose cannon into the office of the presidency. Thank you for watching this.